What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and going live once again today, keeping the streak alive. I think it's been 5 days in a row now that we've gone live on the channel, and we're not stopping anytime soon. Even though it's the dead point of the offseason, there's nothing going on and not a whole lot to talk about. I'm excited how every day I just get to jump on here and talk Giants with you guys and keep finding different things to discuss with all of you in the live chat. So, hope everybody is enjoying their Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. Let's kick off the weekend with a bang. This live stream probably won't go the full hour. It'll probably be a little bit shorter for a couple of reasons. Number one, you'll hear it while I'm live. There is a severe thunderstorm going on for me outside, and so I do risk of potentially losing internet connection while live. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And then the second reason being, if you see my shirt, I'm wearing a Napoli kit today. If you aren't aware, the Serie A, the Italian Soccer League, is having its final week of games today. And Napoli, if they win the championship. So I'm very excited, and I have to tune in for that and all that. So it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to go ahead and dive in. We have a pretty interesting topic to discuss. But as always, leave your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, everything in the live chat. And you guys know I'm going to bring up pretty much every single chat that you guys leave and have a good conversation with you as we go along. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and start the topic of discussion. Make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy. Yep, I'm a Yankees fan, Street Judas. I am indeed a Yankees fan. Rescue Ops. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Let's go Giants. I hope the same. Let's go G-Men. So the big topic of discussion, as you could see, why the Giants could make the playoffs in 2025. I want to try and just be optimistic today. Now, listen, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't think it's likely the Giants will make the playoffs. I'm not betting on them making the playoffs. Maybe I'll throw $5 down, just for fun. Why not? It's not something that I'm exactly expecting, but I see the path for the Giants to make the playoffs, whereas a lot of fans don't necessarily seem to see that. They seem to think that it's a foregone conclusion. The Giants won't be making the postseason, but I think that there is a clear path for them to, and there are different ways and different reasons to believe that they could be a playoff team. So I want to dive into that, discuss why I think there is a chance for the Giants to make the playoffs, and why Russell Wilson will be the number one reason if the Giants do make the playoffs for their appearance there. So that's what we're going to dive into. But Michael has a really good and important question saying, "What's up, Anthony? Hope you're doing good. Can we get one of your famous scataboos?" No, I'm sorry. I'm retiring the Scataboo. Never doing it again. Hate to break this. Scataboo! Of course you can have a Scataboo. All right. Now let's talk about the Giants' postseason potential. I know that the schedule is going to be the number one thing people bring up. And on cue, as I say that, we have Chaz in here saying tough schedule, but if Wilson steps up, that's pretty much going to be the premise of this. The schedule is really difficult. There's no way around that. I understand, there's a few things that you could say. The highest strength of schedule. I know MJ's saying playoffs. Highest strength of schedule in the NFL feels unfair for a team coming off of a 3-14 season, but we've discussed that at length. I've also discussed the reasons why I think you could be positive about the schedule. There are reasons to believe that the Commanders could be beatable in week 1, that the Cowboys could be beatable in week 2. The Chiefs, coming off of a tough week against the Eagles in week 2, might play down to their competition in week 3. Maybe the Giants could steal that one. Week 5 versus the Saints feels like one the Giants could win. Week 6 on a short week, could they surprise the Eagles? Probably not. Week 9 versus the 49ers, could they be beatable since they had a rough year last season? Week 10 versus the Bears, rookie head coach, maybe they step back or make just a mid-season misstep. Detroit Lions, week 12, new OC, new DC. Maybe they're not as good this year. Week 15, Commanders, perhaps Jaden Daniels has the sophomore slump. Who knows? Vikings, rookie quarterback, basically, coming off of a torn knee. What's he going to look like? Maybe they're not the best team this season. Week 17 versus the Raiders could definitely be beatable in week 18 versus Dallas. Again, rookie head coach. So, again, I've said there are a lot of reasons that you could look at this schedule and you could be daunted by it, but you could also find the hope, the copium, the reasons for optimism, which is what I'm trying to do right now. But the major reason of optimism that I have for the Giants this season is the quarterback position. Russell Wilson right here looking really good in Giants blue. Now, let me say this. I love Russell Wilson. Years ago when he was on the Seahawks, and obviously I was a diehard Giants fan, and all my friends knew that Eli Manning was my favorite quarterback, but they would say, hey, who's your favorite quarterback that's not on the New York Giants? My answer would be Russell Wilson. So all these years later, to see him wearing Giants blue is kind of like a dream come true. He's not the Russell Wilson that he used to be, but he's still Russell Wilson nonetheless. And so it's very exciting for me. But Russell Wilson, I think, is such a monumental upgrade. He's not the Russell Wilson he used to be, as I just said, but he's still a monumental upgrade over what the Giants had at quarterback last season. Last season, they had the combination of Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and Tim Boyle, who all started games in that order. That, to me, I don't know how you can debate is not the worst quarterback room that took the field last season. Absolute atrocity. And still, you had Malik Neighbors go for 109 receptions, 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Still, you got 93 targets peppered to Wan'Dale Robinson. He had a good year. Even still, the ball moved. The playmakers flashed. The ball just didn't get in the end zone because the quarterback missteps, basically. Now, with at least an average quarterback in Russell Wilson, what's Malik Neighbors' stat line going to look like this year? That's what I can't wait to see. If he put up 1,200 last year with that quarterback room, now that he's got Russell Wilson throwing him the ball, I mean, is this kid not primed to go for 1,500 yards this year? Like, is that not a realistic expectation to have for Malik Neighbors? I feel like it is. He should have a monumental monster season in year 2 of his career now that he's got a real quarterback throwing him the ball. So you look at that and you say, okay, Malik Neighbors actually being unlocked by quarterback should win the Giants a few games this year. Russell Wilson alone being an upgrade over what the Giants had at quarterback last year should win them some games this year. And I see some of you dropping a few record predictions in the chat. Like I saw an 8-9. This is Trenton, our resident Eagles fan, saying 8-9. We've got a 9-8 right here. We've got a few. Sean saying he could see us starting 4-0. Listen, that's going to be tough. 2 AFC West opponents, 2 NFC East opponents. It's a tough start to the schedule, but I don't think you're completely off base here. I think there is a path for that. So, listen, I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. But again, I'm going to keep going back to this quarterback situation. The fact that the Giants have a quarterback, and let me go through some of the big key differentiating factors between Russell Wilson and call it Daniel Lock, right? Daniel Jones, Drew Lock. Let's just call it Daniel Lock. Russ versus Daniel Lock in the short game. Now, I know that historically Russell Wilson has somewhat struggled in the short game. Maybe he hasn't, because he's always been a very aggressive quarterback looking downfield. It doesn't necessarily always see the short yardage routes, right? That's been a criticism of him. However, the problem is that with the Daniel Lock combination, those guys would not only be late to get to those wide receivers who were short, but also inaccurately throw to those wide receivers short. How many times have I used this example? Imagine Wan'Dale Robinson catching a pass about a yard in front of the line of scrimmage, but the ball is behind him. He has to slow down. He's not catching it in stride, and as a result, the nearest defender is able to tackle him. It's a 2-yard gain. Now think about what if he's open a yard past the line of scrimmage, but the ball is out in front of him and he catches it in stride and he turns upfield and he makes a 6-yard gain. So then you're talking about 3rd and 8 versus 3rd and 4. And think about how big of a difference that is in situational football. So that's one of the things that I think you look at from the quarterback position for the New York Giants. You say the Daniel Lock combination was really bad at the short game because they were not on time and they were inaccurate and the receivers couldn't get the ball in stride. However, with Russell Wilson, the ball should be accurate. They should get it in stride and they should have room for the yards after the catch, essentially is my point here. So that's why I think the Giants are going to upgrade in the short game. Now, the deep passing game, I'm going to pull up stats and we're going to talk all about that because it's going to be a night and day difference, as you'll see. Russell Wilson throwing the deep ball doesn't even compare to the Daniel Lock deep ball passing statistics. It's unbelievable. So we'll get to that in a second, but I do want to dive back into the chat because I do see a lot being dropped in here. Andrew Graham saying Big Blue, Forza Napoli sempre. I can't wait for today. Cannot wait. Right. If Neighbors goes for only 1,200 again this year, it's probably a much more efficient 1,200. But 1,300 is totally possible. In fact, I think he's going to up that. We might finally see Jalen Hyatt get some targets. Absolutely true. I agree. I think we do have talent on our offense. I think that our running back duo of Scatterboo and Tracy has the potential to be better than the duo of Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, as you kind of hint to. And I think that Malik Neighbors is a better playmaker than anybody Russ was throwing to last season, and he took that team to the playoffs. I don't know if Slayton's going to push for a full 1,000, but I think he's going to set a new career high. Maybe that's about 800 yards. Nino, I completely agree with this. Week 1 is the most important game of the season for the Giants because they need to set a good tone. They can't fall flat the way that they have the last 2 years, right? I mean, embarrassment. 3 years? Is it the past 3 years? No, past 2 years. Embarrassment 0-40, MetLife Stadium versus the Cowboys. Then embarrassment, MetLife Stadium versus the Vikings. Wasn't 0-40, but it was still embarrassing. This year, you can't have that. They have to start strong. If we start 4-0, what do you guys want me to do? Bleed Blue is going to eat a pineapple pizza. You guys let me know what I am doing if we start 4-0. Trenton will shave his head and live stream it. I can't wait to see that when it happens, because it will. Definitely underdogs. Rook Custom saying, stop. We are starting to sound like Dallas fans. We have to understand the schedule is not going to allow us, nor are we there yet to take a big enough step. Be patient and stop sounding like Dallas fans. Do you guys think that I sound like a Dallas fan? I don't mean to sound like a Dallas fan. Listen, it's just mid to late May, and there aren't a lot of Giants topics to talk about. So what we're going to do is just try and go through the scenario that could put the Giants in the playoffs. Again, I prefaced it at the beginning of the live stream. Maybe you weren't here in the top of the live stream, but I did say it's not likely the Giants are going to make the playoffs. I'm not predicting them to. We're just simply discussing why they could. If they make the playoffs, how do they get there? What are the steps that they need to take in order to have a chance of making the postseason? That's what we're trying to discuss through. Let's see. Colton saying, what's up? Sorry, late again. Didn't get notifications today. Don't worry about it. Just happy to see you in here. JW, don't do this. If the Giants win the Super Bowl this year, don't even do this. Don't do that to yourself. All right, so I think this is a good question. Eddie Goomba, I'm trying not to be a hater, but why a hype for Russell Wilson? This man hasn't been relevant in 4 years. I'm going to show you the stats as to why I think you should be hyped for Russell Wilson as a Giants fan. And essentially, it's not because of Russell Wilson that you need to be hyped. It's not like he is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, he used to be, but he's not right now. You're right. He's not completely relevant like he once was. However, it's all about comparison in this case. We're talking about Russell Wilson versus what the Giants used to have, essentially. So let me go ahead and show you. I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go. This is a really good question, Eddie Goomba. All right, so you look right here. This is just from last season, 2024, the statistics that Russell Wilson posted last year. And what I want you to take a look at is the deep 20 to plus yard statistics. He started only 11 games last season, which I think is important context. And in those 11 games, he threw 50 deep passes, 20 plus yards downfield. He was the highest graded deep passer in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. A 54% completion rate is like spectacular, among the best in the NFL. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Let's compare him to the rest of the league, because we were going to compare him to Daniel Jones, who, as you could see, 31 attempts across 10 starts. So right off the bat, you're getting less frequent deep shots, a 25% completion rate, which has got to be near the bottom of the league, 2 touchdowns. I mean, just really poor deep passing versus really strong deep passing. That's why I'm hyped for Russell Wilson, because I think that what the Giants offense has really been missing is a deep passing attack. They haven't been able to get the ball downfield. Like, I keep thinking about Malik Neighbors' rookie season and how he only had 7 receptions, 20 plus yards downfield. I don't know how that's possible that he only had, or maybe it was 9, whatever it was. How is that even possible? I mean, listen, he just wasn't getting downfield. I shouldn't say that. He was going downfield and he was open. If you look at his PFF grade, he had about a 97 deep receiving grade, but he only had 7 receptions or 9 receptions, whatever it is, on 29 targets. What is your takeaway from that? He's open. He's running good routes. He's making plays. He's just not getting the football, and he's not getting it accurately. And so that's the big difference when we're talking about these games that the Giants lost last year. They were 0-8 in 1 possession games or something crazy like that, right? Like they lost 8 games by 1 possession or less. All of those games, imagine if we had one big breakaway Malik Neighbors touchdown in half of those games. We might have won a few of them. We maybe instead of being 3-14, we're 7-9 or 7-10, right? So Russell Wilson's going to buy the Giants wins this season because the playmakers that the Giants have, they're not terrible. They're not bad. They can go downfield. They can make plays. Think about Odell Beckham Jr.'s rookie season. And think about how frequently he was wide open downfield off of a good route, and the ball was perfectly laid out there for him, and he had a breakaway touchdown. Think about the big game that he had against the Rams that year, where he burned Janoris Jenkins, and as soon as he made that cut, Eli Manning bombed that thing downfield perfectly in stride. Think about a play like that. Or think about the game against Washington when he had 3 touchdowns. Think about in his second season against the Patriots. He had an 80-yard touchdown to open that game because Eli Manning threw a beautiful deep ball right between the zone of a cover 2. Odell took it to the house. Made a guy miss and took it to the house. Neighbors didn't even have the opportunities to make a guy miss and take it to the house because he wasn't accurately targeted downfield. When the ball was thrown 20-plus yards downfield to Neighbors, it was borderline uncatchable over half of the time. So that's essentially my point here. This is why I'm excited for Russell Wilson. You're right. He's not the quarterback he used to be. He's not completely relevant like he once was. Hasn't been for 4 years. Absolutely true. He's a journeyman quarterback at this point. But as far as journeyman quarterbacks go, he might be the best one that you can get at this stage in the NFL. And his deep passing is probably the reason why. It's a major strength of his game, and it's a strength that not only unlocks your biggest playmaker, Malik Neighbors, but really unlocks the rest of the offense. Because with Russell Wilson throwing deep, what a lot of teams have to do is put an extra defensive back on the field. What does that mean? Less stacked boxes, more rushing lanes for guys like Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Cam Scatterboo. So again, it's kind of like interesting when you think about quarterbacks and quarterback play in the NFL. To have the 20th quarterback and the 18th quarterback, there's not a big difference. But when you're talking about the 20th quarterback versus the 32nd quarterback, the difference in quality of play that you get between that is almost unfathomable. Like to have a bad quarterback to an average quarterback, it's different than to have a bad running back to an average running back. A bad quarterback to an average quarterback is a complete game changer for the entirety of a team. And that's really the point that I'm trying to get across here is Russell Wilson is at least average. And the Giants for the last 2 years have had bad, at best bad, and at worst unfathomably bad, right? And so that kind of an upgrade should have an effect on the offense that's probably more impactful than anything we've seen from the Giants offense over the last 3 seasons. That's really the point that I'm trying to make. So it's a good question here, Eddie Goomba. I wanted to spend some good time with it. And again, show you some of the stats here from the deep passing because I think it's really important. It's important to highlight bad quarterback to average. I mean, it makes such an insane difference. But yeah, let's take a look at passing depth for quarterbacks. We're going to go to deep passing. We're going to go minimum attempts. We're going to do that. And right, so Russell Wilson, the best deep passer in the NFL last season. But let's look at attempts. Josh Allen threw the most with 87 last year, which is a lot. And where's Russ? Russ had 50, but he started 11 games. So 50 divided by 11 times 17. He was on pace for 77 deep passing attempts. So again, throwing the football deep at the second highest rate in the NFL. So Russell Wilson is going to take more deep shots downfield and as a result, open up the offense for the Giants. And in case you were curious and you don't know, this is not a fluke. It's not like this was the one season where he threw the ball well downfield. The season prior, he was also elite. The season before that, he was good. This was his worst season of his career, 2022, but still threw 78 attempts downfield. 2021, he was elite. I mean, throughout the entirety of his career, 2020 absolutely was elite. He's always been among the best deep passers in the NFL. 99.7. I didn't even know you can get that high of a PFF grade on 97 attempts. I mean, the guy is like a Martian when throwing the ball deep downfield. 99.4. What is that? Like, this guy is crazy. I've actually never looked at his year-to-year deep passing stats. Yeah, he really might be. Truth bearer, I see you. He honestly arguably is the best deep ball passer in the history of the NFL. It's always been his specialty. I mean, look at this. Every season, minus 2022, completely elite in these statistics. So that's the point that I'm trying to make here is the Giants offense is just going to be way more well-oiled this season because they've actually got a quarterback who could throw the ball downfield. So we just walked through the career of Russell Wilson and looked at those stats. Let's look at Daniel Jones. All right, that's above average. That was 2023. He didn't play that many games that year. 2022, this is his best season, and he still had only 26 attempts, 20 plus yards downfield, and only 10 completions on those. Only 359 of his yards came on deep passes. That's crazy. Only 359 yards on, and this was the year that the Giants made it to the playoffs. This was the year that Brian Dable, in my opinion, really carried the Giants to the playoffs because Daniel Jones, as a passer, was not nearly as threatening as you need him to be. 2021, he was, again, 33% completion rate. I know one of these seasons he was good. It was this season, 2020. He actually threw the ball downfield at a pretty high rate that season. Drop my water. With 43 deep passes. And he graded out really highly in that regard. Also turned the ball over a crap ton these 2 seasons. But the craziest thing to me about Daniel Jones is that he entered the NFL, and that was the most aggressive that he's ever been in his entire career. 54 deep passes as a rookie. And then he just shelled up. He just, like a turtle, went into his shell, and he stopped throwing the ball downfield. He got afraid to turn the ball over. I think as a result of how many turnovers he had in 2021, in 2019, he just stopped throwing the ball downfield. He was afraid to do it, to turn the ball over. And it really ruined his career, derailed his progress, in my opinion. That's the number one reason why I think Daniel Jones is now on his second team and not a starting quarterback. Now, he might start this year. He might compete and he might win the starting job, sure. But he's not a starting quarterback. We know that. So let's see. I know we've got a lot of questions in the chat. I've been going on a long tangent here about Russell Wilson's deep passing. Let's see. I have other reasons outside of Russell Wilson why the Giants could make the playoffs as well, though, and I'll get to those. Yes, he's definitely one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, and the Giants didn't have that on the field last year. They had what? Number 40 in Drew Lock? This is also true from Truth Bearer. The Steelers were scoring a lot of points before George Pickens got hurt at the end of the year. This is also, you know what, if you want even more optimism surrounding Russell Wilson, who's to say that he can't have a little bit of a career resurgence when throwing to one of the best wide receivers in the league? I think that's a good point. Yeah, as long as he is a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, the Giants should be competitive and in the mix. Dude, I cannot wait for more deep balls this year. Yeah, I'm always going to try and be optimistic. I think this is a very different Giants team than the one we saw last year, so this is a good question here as well. And since I've got Pro Football Focus open, why not just go ahead and get some numbers on this? Whoa, there's another Neighbors in the league? There is a Gabe Neighbors, a fullback for the Chargers. That's cool. All right. What is his yak going to look like? Well, I think it's going to look even better because he's going to be getting the ball in stride. But what I wanted to show is 475 of his yards came after the catch this year. What's the percentage there? 475 divided by 1204. So 40% of his yards he produced himself with the ball in his hands. And let's see here. Receiving depth. Oh, that was passing depth. He didn't throw any passes. Receiving depth. Only 216 of his total yards, 216 divided by 1204. So only 18% of his yards came on 20-plus yard passes. So he had more than double the amount of yards after the catch versus the yards that he had on 20-plus yard receptions. That, to me, feels insane. A guy like Malik Neighbors, who, if you didn't know, had the most deep receiving yards of any wide receiver in college football in 2023, having more than double of his yards after the catch versus deep receiving is crazy. Now, I know he is a great yak weapon, and he was in college, but the fact that his deep receiving was also a calling card of his game at LSU, and it wasn't even utilized last year, this is why I say Malik Neighbors' breakout season. Everybody's like, oh, what do you mean breakout? He had 1,200 yards last year. Yeah, but he should have had like 1,600. He had a lot of meat left on the bone. This is a 24% completion rate when targeting him 20-plus yards downfield. Imagine if that was even a 30% completion rate. Just two more receptions there adds another 100-something yards and another 2 touchdowns. Crazy. Colton thinks we can be a top 15 offense this year, no injuries, which is a long shot. And that was the second reason that I wanted to discuss as well. If the Giants stay healthy this year, which I know is a stretch because they don't seem to be good at that, but let's imagine that Andrew Thomas is actually healthy this season. Can you imagine how much better the Giants offense is going to be? Not only in the running game, because he's one of the best run blocking left tackles in the NFL, but also Russell Wilson now has time to operate. So if the Giants are able to stay healthy this year, and honestly, I think that they will be a healthier team. I think that a lot of what causes injuries for an NFL team is being a bad football team. And what I mean by that is when you're a bad football team and you play undisciplined, guys fall over and they fall onto you and you break your leg. And I say that specifically because I remember when Nick Gates had that devastating injury versus Washington. Well, how did he get that injury? Billy Price, the center at the time, got completely bulldozered, thrown onto his back, and thrown into Nick Gates' leg. So bad football results in injuries. How about Andrew Thomas week 1 in 2023? How did he get injured? Chasing down a blocked field goal. Bad football leads to injuries. So you look at the way that the Giants have played in recent years, and the ways that their star players have gotten injured have been by these star players feeling this overwhelming responsibility to be better than they need to be, to carry the slack for others and to do too much and to put themselves in harm's way, to battle through the pain and ultimately get hurt and injured and miss time. So what I'm saying is, because the Giants are a better football team with more talent, they should be a healthier football team with more talent actually present on the field, because I don't think these guys are going to be overcompensating and overplaying. The best example that I can think of in 2023, Bobby Okereke played 100% of snaps. In 2024, he got hurt because that's not sustainable. And it's not because you're getting worn down, right? Like, I had this conversation with a Knicks fan because they were like, I said that Tom Thibodeau plays his players too much. And I know that's a hot topic of debate, and especially tonight with game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals coming. But walk with me for a second because I'm not talking basketball. I'm just kind of using this as an example. A Knicks fan was like, well, they have to play that many times, for all of these. The Knicks players need to play that much because they don't have depth. They don't have a good rotation. And I'm like, yes, I understand that. And when Jalen Brunson, for example, twisted his ankle, I think it was against the Pistons, I was like, this is why he shouldn't be playing 40 minutes a game. And they were like, well, that wasn't even a contact injury. That wasn't a wear down injury. It was a freak accident. I'm like, yes, but how often you're on the court, or in this case on the field in football, means the probability of a freak accident happening is greater because you have more opportunities. Because the more snaps you play, the more opportunities for a freak accident to happen. Doesn't have to be that you're getting worn down, that you're playing too many snaps and that you're tired and getting hurt. But it's kind of like this. If you drive your car every single day, you're more likely to get into an accident than somebody who drives their car once a week. That's the best analogy that I can give you. So when you've got guys like Bobby Okereke playing 100% of snaps, or Tyler Nubin as a rookie playing 100% of snaps, that's unsustainable because you're putting them out there, exposing them to risk. And that's why Tyler Nubin finished the season on injured reserve. It's not, maybe he didn't get worn down. He's a young player, so I doubt that he was like his body was falling apart. But you're just out there so much, sooner or later, eventually, you're going to get hurt. That's why you need a rotation. That's why I'm so excited about the fact that the Giants have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter, because they can rotate these guys. There were games last year where Brian Burns was playing close to 100% of snaps. And guess what? He played hurt through at least 5 games a season. Now, if he wasn't playing 100% of snaps in some of those games earlier in the year, maybe he wouldn't have been playing through pain at the end of the year. Everybody plays through pain in football. I understand that. But maybe he wouldn't have been on the injury report as consistently. So again, these are some of the things that I think about and some of the points that I think are important to make. When I say that this Giants team could make the playoffs, this Giants team should be healthier because a lot of these issues that I'm mentioning, like Burns being on the field 100% of the time, Okereke and Nubin, they shouldn't be on the field this often. They should be healthier and more well-rested going forward, and as a result, play better football. So that's the point that I want to make on the injuries in particular. Thomas, feeling optimistic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm trying to be optimistic here. The Big Moo saying that every Wilson press conference, he mentions the potential of Jalen Hyatt because if there's one thing in the world that Russell Wilson loves to do, it's throw the deep ball. And if there's one thing that Jalen Hyatt's good at, it's catching the deep ball. Scattergood's going to be a red zone monster. I agree, Trenton. B-Dog, yes, but not now. Next offseason, they're going to get a WR2. I can guarantee that. But they don't really have the money right now. I know they freed up $10 million in cap space with the Brian Burns restructure. They still have negative $5 million in effective cap space. They only freed up that money so they could get Abdul Carter under contract. They still have a lot more that they need to do. Agreed with this. I think Neighbors could be a triple crown candidate next season. Charles says he loves his team. Me too, man. Honestly, personally, I think Debo's a little washed. I'm not sure that he's going to do damage. He might. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I don't know if I see it anymore. If Andrew Thomas gets hurt badly this year, I'm done with him at that point. Move Jermaine Illuminor left tackle and try to figure out right tackle next offseason. Listen, I hate to say it, but that might have to be the course of action the Giants take. Not that we want to. I think Andrew Thomas is going to have a good season as well. But it is possible that he gets hurt this year, and we do have to move on. I hope you guys liked all my analogies there in terms of the reps. Like, I thought the car analogy was really good. I get very creative. Trenton, this is actually a pretty fun fact. And one of the most intriguing things that I saw during the pre-draft process, there was more than one analyst who gave a pro comp for Jackson Dart as Jalen Hurts. And, you know, you can kind of see it because of mobility, because of lack of experience of pro-style offense. There are some similarities. Really good deep passing, you know, some things. Scatterboom! Sorry. Anytime I see it, I got to do it. How much did Brasillo improve the Raiders O-line in his second year there? And do you see big step in O-line in year to under him? Brasillo got that offensive line to play a lot better over the course of his time there. I think he was there, 3 seasons? I'm going to confirm that. But one of the big calling cards for Carmen Brasillo was the development. Okay, so he was there only 2 seasons. And yes, it was definitely better the second season than it was the first season because they finished top 10 in terms of offensive line play per PFF in the second season. I think they were around 20 in the first season. So that should give you some hope that the offensive line could get better with another year of coaching from Brasillo. But one of his big calling cards was taking an undrafted free agent center in Andre James and turning him into a legitimate starter. And I really hope if Brasillo is able to do one thing this season, make John Michael Schmitz a starting caliber player. Make him a quality guy for us. If you guys can hear, that rainstorm is still intensifying. Trenton, does Evan Neal make the 53-man roster? Yeah, he's going to make the 53-man roster. The Giants don't have any incentive to release him. Let me pull up his salary cap. Cutting Neal saves the Giants $0. Like, it literally says $0 on over the cap, which I don't know if I've ever seen. Usually it's at least like some hundreds, thousands, whatever. $0 saved by cutting Evan Neal post June 1st. So they have zero incentive to do it. I mean, I guess because there's no penalty, maybe they do it, but I don't know. You might as well hold on to him. He does have a high cap hit, though, at $7.8 million. So perhaps there is incentive. But that cap hit's going to stay there. So it doesn't matter. Like, you're not making any savings. Now, if you trade him, you could free up $4 million, but I don't think anybody's going to want him in a trade. Although, at the trade deadline, apparently the Giants got calls on him. So maybe it's possible. B-Dog, I don't know, honestly. I think the Giants should have done that last year. I don't know why it's only this year. I guess, actually, the answer is because he got hurt. Like, they probably would have started to transition him last year, but if you remember, he missed the entirety of the summer with an ankle injury. So that's probably why. Win-loss prediction, 7 wins for the Giants. So what's that, 7-10 now in the new schedule? 7-10 for the Giants, just missing the playoffs. I think they're competitive into December, though. But again, we're talking about in here, my win-loss prediction is 7 wins. I don't think they make the playoffs, but there's ways that they could. And I say 7 wins because I think they're going to lose a couple close games. And so they're only going to have 7. But maybe they win those couple of close games and they get 9. And if they get 9, I think they'll get in. So, yeah, the Raiders fired the head coach and cleaned house. That's why Carmen Brasillo moved on from the Raiders, essentially. In fact, I don't even think he was officially fired. I think the Giants just hired him and he made the lateral move. And because they were cleaning house, they were okay with it. Yeah, I really doubt Eric Gray makes the roster. If the Giants go 3-1 in their first 4 games, what's my prediction then? That's a really fun question. Now I got to pull up the schedule again. Rocco, happy Memorial Day weekend. Happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody. Hope that you all have a great holiday weekend. It's always nice to unwind. All right, if they start 3-1 in their first 4 games, I could see him finishing with 9 wins then. Yeah, I could see him finishing with 9 wins. Why can't Evan Neal do the same thing Eric Flowers and Mekhi Becton did? Neal was a consensus top 10 pick, and he's a monster, huge guy. I mean, he is a very big, brawling man, and that's why he might succeed at guard. I think that he could do the same thing Eric Flowers and Mekhi Becton did. But I think what's important to note is that those guys did that with a change of scenery, and sometimes that's really important. Playing in New York is tough because we have a fan base that takes players who don't play well, and we don't necessarily encourage them. We criticize oftentimes because we're New Yorkers and New York fans, and that's just kind of the New York sports culture. Like Evan Neal has the nickname Evan Neal with Giants fans. He doesn't have that nickname with Dolphins or Commanders, Eagles, or Chargers, whoever fans. So he might go to a change of scenery, have a clean slate, and they might embrace him. Oh, former top 10 pick. The Giants suck. That's the reason why he's not good. We're going to make him good. Sometimes the environment that you're playing in really, really does matter. I think that was more true than ever for Evan Engram. If you remember how he went out bad with the Giants, his final season was a major disappointment. Then he goes to Jacksonville, and I think he was their leading receiver. And he said while he was in Jacksonville, like being there and getting away from the environment that he was in really helped clear his mind and allowed him to play better football. So Alex, what are your thoughts on this? What if Evan Neal is average at right guard? Not good, not bad, just nothing special. Do you bring him back, resign him? Well, Alex, what do you think? That's a good thought, Alex. Wait, Alex isn't here. I know what you meant, Jared. I know you meant Anthony. I'm just breaking your balls. But if Evan Neal is average at right guard, I don't think the Giants sign him because I think that average at right guard probably gets paid more than they're willing to pay, and they'll take the comp pick. Rocco, a friendly bet. I take the Giants with 10 wins this year. I hope you're right. I don't want to bet against you because I hope that you're right. So I don't want this to happen, Trenton. I think Giants fans would be absolutely furious if this happened. I know I would. All right, guys, I think I'm going to go for like another 10 or so minutes. So keep dropping those questions in the chat, essentially because I got some soccer to watch and I don't want, I'm like playing against the weather right now. I don't want the weather to intensify and then the stream abruptly ends. I'd rather end it on my own terms. So do I think Marcus Bowe is starting to work at right tackle is another recipe for disaster for his career? It feels like it could potentially be a Zito and Neal all over again. No, Pete, I actually don't think that because I think it's important to have versatility on the offensive line. And where I think the Giants are differentiating this with Bowe, when they drafted Neal, they kind of trained him exclusively at right tackle. They were like, you're going to be a tackle for us, nothing else. You're not allowed to even take reps at guard. You are a tackle. With Bowe, they're like, you're going to play tackle. You're going to play guard. You're going to play on the left side. You're going to play on the right side. We're going to see where you're best. And I think that's a really key difference. That's really important. With Neal, they put him in a box, and he didn't fit in that box, the gargantuan man that he is. With Bowe, not as gargantuan, A, and B, not in a box. So, and C, good. So he's going to move all over the place, and I think they're going to get the development of that right. I hope they do. I think that McFadden and Carter will rotate for sure, but I think primarily Carter's rotation is going to be with Thibodeau. But when Kayvon is on the field, yeah, I could see McFadden being the one dropped off. Yeah, Jackson Dart week 1, 2026 for sure. I agree, Trenton, because I think that if Russell Wilson, let's say he plays well enough to take the Giants to the playoffs, he's going to be owed a $30 million contract. Somebody's going to pay him. Let's imagine that he actually throws for close to 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. He'll get paid in the offseason, and he'll probably get paid way more than the Giants are willing to pay him with Jackson Dart on their roster. So he's probably going to walk in free agency. Giants get a comp pick, and they'll just move on happily. Say, thank you, Russ. You got us back to a competitive state. We went to the playoffs, likely lost in the first round, but hey, the fact that we were in the dance is thanks to you. So thank you so much. But we wish you the best of luck. We're rolling with Jackson Dart. It would be the only financially responsible decision for them to make. I think all of the quarterbacks are going to play. I think Russ probably plays a maximum of 2 quarters. I think Dart's going to play 4 quarters, not in one game, but 4 quarters across 3 games. And you're going to see at least 4 quarters from Tommy DeVito and at least 2 quarters from Jameis Winston. You guys are really hating on Eric Gray in the chat. What did he do to you guys? He is not that bad. Yeah, I also do agree with this. I don't know, man. Watching the Knicks, again, like I've said, I'm a pretty casual NBA fan. I used to be a diehard NBA fan. I used to watch the NBA a lot. I grew up in New York, so I'm a Knicks fan, but I also grew up half of my time in Florida, and I was always a Dwayne Wade fan. So when the Heat were good, I know Knicks and Heat fans, typically rivals. I root for both of them because I've got a lot of friends who are Knicks fans. I got a lot of friends who are Heat fans, so I'm a weirdo. I understand that's kind of like strange to root for rivals. I get it, but it's about where I lived. So I used to be really into the NBA because I used to love watching Melo on the Knicks, and I used to love watching Wade on the Heat, and obviously Braun and everything else. But I don't know, somewhere over the last 7 years, the league just really lost me, and I don't watch it as much. I'm way more casual with it, but definitely tuning into the Eastern Conference Finals and rooting for the Knicks. I think it would be incredible for the city of New York if they won, if they won the chip. All right. Russ may not want to be a free agent again because he may end up with another coaching staff who hates his personality, like Sean Payton or Arthur Smith. Isn't it strange that happened to him twice in a row? Is that a moment of concern for Giants fans? I know some people definitely have the concern about it. I don't, because I just think Arthur Smith is a bad coach, and I think Sean Payton, I'm sorry if you guys are a big Sean Payton fan. I think he's an asshole. He's a very good coach. I'm never going to discount his abilities to coach football. He's just not a good guy. Like the Bounty Gate, terrible. I don't know. I'm a traitor. Yes, the NBA is like a bad product to me. I think it's just huck and chuck 3-pointers all day, and it didn't used to be that way. The mid-range jumper has nearly died in that league, and they need to do something to fix it, I think. Yes, I would want Eric Gray to play on my flag football team. That would be very helpful for us. I agree. I think CD is going to fight with Dak at some point. I don't know, man. Am I high on Tracy? Do I think Scatterbo will lead back towards end of season? No, I think that Tyrone Tracy is going to be the starter. I really like Cam Scatterbo, as you guys know. It's why I do the big Scatterbooms. But I think Tracy, his skill set currently is more suited to be the workhorse / lead running back. And the reason that I say that is because Scatterbo's athleticism, I think, might be a hindrance on him early in his career. So when I say a workhorse back, I mean he's getting handoffs inside his own 20 and inside the opponent's 20. And you really only can do that if you're fast, I think. And Scatterbo, 4.6 speed. I know he's got a lot of breakaway runs on his tape, and his game speed, I think, is faster than his 40 time. But I still think he's a little bit limited athletically in his long speed, to where you run the risk of him becoming a Najee Harris at the next level if you make him your lead back, which isn't a bad thing. That's 1,000 rushing yards a year, but that's never having explosive plays. Najee Harris is known. His longest career run is under 40 yards, or at least it was until last season or something. He's a good running back, goes for 1,000 yards every year, but he doesn't have breakaway plays. Scatterbo is great in short yardage situations, as Pete just said, and Scatterbo is also like really dynamic as a receiver, and he'll go in there and he'll punch you in the mouth, and he'll take, he'll wear down defenses. But in terms of having an ability to take some chunk plays, to gain some chunk plays between the 20s, I think that's where you want Tracy to really lead the offense. B-Dog, if I had to place a bet on any of these 3 guys breaking out, I'm going to pick Theo. And I'm going to say Wandale breaking out and then becoming a free agent wouldn't be the most exciting thing. It'd be great to watch, but he'd probably leave in free agency and get paid way more than the Giants can afford to pay him in 2026. Michael really doesn't like Eric Gray. This is actually hilarious. But yeah, guys, we are going to start winding it down. So drop your buzzer beaters, your final last minute, 2-minute drill. Drop your final questions, thoughts, concerns, comments, everything else down in the chat. So I think we went over the main points that I wanted to make about why the Giants can make the playoffs. Number one being improved quarterback play. Number two being because it's a better roster, they should stay healthier. Number three being I don't think the schedule is as difficult as people say it is. And the fourth reason that I will give you, the defense is stacked with talent. The pass rushing is insane. We all know that. And so then the fifth reason I'll give you, I believe Brian Daboll is a good coach. I just think he's been held back by really bad quarterback play and offensive talent. And listen, in 2022, the Giants had no business being in the playoffs. Daboll won Coach of the Year because everybody knew the Giants had no business being in the playoffs, let alone winning a playoff game. Brian Daboll is the reason the Giants made the playoffs that year. And now he's got a roster that I think is kind of decent. I think again, I'm not expecting the Giants to make the playoffs, but to say there's no chance of it, you're crazy because there's definitely a chance. Hope you're right, VK. If Hyatt does have a breakout season, it's because Russell Wilson is on the field, / Jameis Winston, because Jameis Winston will chuck it deep too. Pete, just hit up the Fireside Giants Instagram account. I'll see it in there. I check every now and then the message requests. Yeah, I think that if the Giants go to the playoffs, coming off of a 3-14 season, if they win like 10 games this year, Daboll could absolutely be the head coach of the year. Yeah, Gray gives less, so Singletary would get the spot over him. But don't discount the possibility of both of them being released for cap-saving purposes and the Giants picking up a running back on the waiver wire. Where does Trey Hawkins sit on the depth chart? He had a great game against Philly in Week 18. Trey Hawkins is, let's think, Giants starting corners. Corner depth chart is going to be Adebo's the CB1, Banks is CB2, Drew Phillips as the nickel, the backup cornerback is Cordell Flott, and I don't know who else would be there. Maybe that's 5 is where the competition begins for some of those other back end of the roster guys. I know Art Green is a player that the Giants have, whoever the hell that is, right? I guess 5th string essentially is where Trey Hawkins is going to be competing. Not sure if he is the 5th string, but he'll be competing there. Oh, Corey Black as well. Corey Black is probably 5th string. I think he's a decent player, and he's on the rookie contract as well. They just picked him. Yeah, I guess 5 or 6 on the depth chart is Trey Hawkins. I think Flott is a good depth piece. My problems with Flott were just the fact that he was starting games for the Giants, and I don't think he should have been. At least not as early as he was. They drafted him in the 3rd round of 2022 and basically told him, you're a starter as a rookie. And so he mixed in and out of lineup because he wasn't playing well as a rookie starter. But yeah, essentially, I agree with you. I think he's a really good depth piece. But all right, guys, I got to go prepare to watch Napoli play. I cannot wait for this. I got to get this podcast uploaded on Spotify and stuff. If you guys like to listen to podcasts in the gym, whatever. I know live streams are a little bit different. It's kind of hard to listen to those sometimes, but if you do enjoy listening, we are going to make sure that these are getting uploaded on Apple, Spotify, and those other places. So going to do that soon. So we're going to do that between now and then. Napoli kicks off in 20 minutes, and I really can't wait. Just to put this in perspective for you all, Napoli winning. This would be their 2nd time winning the league. This is the Italian Soccer League, Serie A. Their 2nd time winning in the last 3 years. But prior to that win 2 years ago, they had a 30-year championship drought. So this would be monumental. And this is a big family thing for me. My great-grandfather was a huge Napoli fan, so I watch every Napoli game with a lot of pride. So I'm very excited for this. This could be, at least I'll get one of my teams who wins a championship, hopefully, this season if they do win today. Doubt that happens to the Giants. Maybe it happens to the Knicks, which would be fantastic. But either way, I'm on the up and up, and I love sports, and I want to see my team win. So it'll be exciting. But thank you so much, everybody, who tuned into the chat. I see Pete saying, enjoy the game. Truth Bear saying, great stream. Good luck to your team. Thank you guys so much. Let's go. Love the stream. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Yes, everybody. Have a great one. Felt the same. Take care. Little peace sign. I like that. Have a great weekend over the barbecue, people. Yes. But yes, appreciate you, everybody who did tune in. Can't thank you all enough. 5 straight days of live streaming here on the channel. I know a lot of you have tuned into all 5 of them, so special thank you to all of you. But make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you all on the next live stream, probably tomorrow, if not Sunday or Monday, but probably tomorrow. I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go New York Giants.